Welcome to a new unit. We are talking about two things today, functions and relations. So it's going to be a little bit vocab heavy at the beginning, but it will get better, I promise. So a relation is a set of ordered pairs, meaning it pairs inputs with outputs. Usually we think of this as x and y. In an ordered pair, the x-coordinate represents the inputs and the y-coordinate represents the output. All right, the domain is the set hold on, English. The domain of any relation is the set of all of the inputs or the x values, and the range of any relation is the set of all the outputs or the y values. All right, so domain, range, x-coordinate, y-coordinate, input, output, these are things you've probably heard about before. Now, there's a special kind of relation that is called a function, and that's what we're going to focus on this chapter. A function is a specific kind of relation that assigns exactly one output to each input. So this means that each value in the domain, or each x value, corresponds to only one value in the range, or y values. All right, now I know what you're thinking. That sounds kind of confusing. So we're going to talk about how to test for this, and I think once we see the visual, it's going to start making more sense. So I have this little diagram for us here. Big box of relations, and then a smaller box for functions. And so functions are a subset, a certain kind of relation. Kind of like a square is a special kind of rectangle. All right, so what does this look like in, say, a graph when we're in the coordinate plane? So when considering the graph of a relation, the vertical line test is what we use to determine whether a relation is a function. So if the line passes through more than one point at a time, the graph does not represent a function. So here is what I mean by that. So if I draw a vertical line here, and I move this vertical line along this graph, it's only touching one x value at a time. Like here's at -3, now it's at -2.9 or repeating. And so we can get a glimpse at all the x values. Here's -1, all right, here's 0, and see it's just touching one spot on that function right now. But as we keep going, notice that my line is touching that curve in multiple spots. So for example, if I stop it here at 2, it is crossing in two spots. Right here, it's crossing right here, and it's crossing right here. And so those here, the x value of 2 has two different y values that it goes with. And so that's why we would say that this is not a function, right? And Our evidence here is that it fails the vertical line test. And I always say my students can abbreviate in like VLT. Because I know sometimes spelling that kind of gets scary. All right, so on the back, we're going to have 3 examples. Each will have 3 versions in the example. There's 3 main ways that we're going to look at functions to try to determine it, or relations to try to determine if they're functions. So 3 different representations. So first, we have, why don't we just label these? These are graphical representations. Then we can have mapping diagrams. And then we can have table representations. Oh my word, spelling today. And scribble erase. It's like 2. Oh my word. All right, erase, there it is. Oh, now I can highlight. Jeez. All right, so here we go. Anytime you see a graph, we are thinking vertical line test, okay? So what I'm going to do is draw myself vertical line, and we're going to run it along this graph. So right here, it's okay, and then, oh no, we start having problems, right? So even if it fails at one spot for one x value, that's enough to say, hey, this big, not a function. So let's see here, switching that vertical line in 2 spots. And so this guy, we would say, is not a function. Here, let's get space down here. Great, he fails the vertical line test. All right, next, we can draw another vertical line. Wow. And again, we are drawing here. Okay. Let's see. Once, touching it once, touching it once, touching it once. And you can do this with your finger or laying your pencil down on the notes. If you're not working on an iPad like me, and you can just lasso a vertical line around. All right, so this is looking good. So everywhere I moved that vertical line, it only came in contact with this V-shaped curve in one spot. So we'll say this guy, he is a function. All right, and then one more here. Drawing another vertical line. All right, I'm gonna drag this guy along. This guy's got a lot of curves to it. And so, because I've studied this type of graph, I can assure you that even here, when it starts getting kind of steep, it's never as steep as this perfectly vertical line. And so this one is also going to pass this vertical line test. And so we'll say that this guy here is a function. All right, next we're going to talk about mapping diagrams. So I personally find mapping diagrams to be kind of funny because we pretty much only use them in this context when we're talking about maybe linearity, or we're talking about whether or not a relation is a function. So over here, this first one, what we're looking for is every value in the domain is that it needs to have an arrow going to one y value in the range. So here, notice how every value, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, they're all going to exactly one value in the range. So that means that this guy is a function. All right. Next one, same thing. We are looking to see if our x values all go to 1y. So here 4 is only going to -3. That's good. 5 only going to 4. That's good. But notice here how 6 is getting mapped to 2 different values in the range. So that is no good. And we would say that this guy is not a function. All right, and last but not least here, let's look. We've got 2 going to 5, and 5 only, 1 going to -1, 0 going to -3, and then we have 1 going to -1 again. So that's okay. So it is okay for 2 values here to 2 different values in the domain to go to the same value in the range. If we look back up here, we actually have that happen in both of these examples where let's look here. We have at -1 and +1, they both have that y value of 2. And that's okay because this still passed the vertical line test. Whoopsie. That means this guy here, that's okay to share an output. So this guy, he's a function. All right, and last but not least, let's look at these tables. So, here we are looking and we again are just trying to figure out if we are going from one x value to one y value. So here we got 1 goes to -3, 6 goes to -2, 9 goes to -2. Remember, that's okay if they both go to the same place. But notice here that we have 1 going to -3 and we have 1 going to +3. That is not okay, right? One x value going to 2 different y values. So that makes this not a function. All right, next up, we are looking at 2 going to 30, 3 going to 31, 4 going to 37, 5 going to 31. All right, sharing those y values, right? That's okay. It's just that we can't have 2 going to, say, 2 different values. So this guy function, he's okay. All right, and last but not least, we have 4 goes to 2, 1 goes to 1, 0 goes to 0, -1 goes to 2. That's okay too. So this is a function. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed learning with me about functions and relations, and that functions are just a certain kind of relation. And I'll see you later.